Well, hello there, Uber-Tuber-Ubers and Tuberettes alike. It's a short talk, really in a park. We're actually in the park with a ostensibly old guy. I think we know who that would be. Good to have you. Come on in. It's a Thursday afternoon. It's the Halloweenth, the 31st, and I'm a Christian and I ain't got no sympathy for this so-called holiday and just all these death logos everywhere. Yeah, you can keep it. I think it's a mistake and probably confusing for children. And who knows, if you're playing around with demonic crap, you might get bit. You know, one of the problems with Ouija boards, as an example, I'm changing the subject, by the way. Hey, how do you like my groovy daddy-o glasses? I think I showed them to you the other day. Do I look like one swinging cat or what? And I've been wearing these since I ever got my new eyeballs. I got the cataracts taken out, and they put new lenses in, so I can see real good in terms of this range here. Where I have problems is like right here. Try to read it. Try to read a newspaper. It's like there's letters there somewhere. So the doc's going to let this here kind of percolate for a month or something, and then we'll do some new glasses. Enough about me. It was a strange day today. I went out to Hatch is a little town, farming town, and they're famous for their green chili, by the way. They have really good green chili. But everybody claims their green chilies from Hatch. Sorry, that valley ain't that big. But anyway, beautiful country up there, and I was out in farmland, and it was a home. It was the weirdest thing. It was a laundry tub, so the guy describes over to me over the phone, because I said, look, it's 51 miles one way. Can you give me a clue as to what I'm looking at to bring, so I have the right parts? And he describes the wrong basket strainer. I told him, like, there's two sizes of strainers. One you'll see in a kitchen sink, and the other is in a bar sink. So the diameter on one's about 3.5 on the hole. The other one's about 2 inches or 1 7/8 on the hole. And so he told me the wrong strainer. But anyway, I happen to have the right one with me. So I rebuilt the thing, put it back together, and I'm almost out of here. And I go do a water test. And the lady goes, hey, there's water coming out of this wall over here. And I went, what? So I went around the corner, the opposite side of the same wall, and there's water running out. Pretty soon there's water running out of my side, under the cabinet. And I said, what? And I said, have you ever seen this water before? And she said, no. I said, well, the leak I fixed, if it had leaked, it would have ended up inside of a drawer. It would have gotten the drawer wet on the inside, but you'd never see it like this coming out under the cabinet, unless the drawer filled up. But anyhow, so I cut the hole in the wall in the rear. Turns out that once upon a time, back on Top Out, that's where you hide all your pipes in the wall. And then the drywaller comes along. Well, actually, the insulator, electrician, everybody else comes in. They get all the gunk in the wall, then they nail it shut with drywall. So if the drywall guy doesn't see a stub out pushing beyond the drywall, he just cruises right over it. He doesn't care. So he went right over a clean out, a 2-inch clean out, and it had never had anything in it. It had been wide open all that time. But today was the first day that they said they ever had seen water coming out of there. What? So I don't know. Fixed that mystery one up. But anyhow, I took care of that one today by myself. But strange stuff. I cannot explain what the heck they're talking about. Oh, by the way, I just want to show you. High tech. Okay, high tech. Observe. Oops. How about I just turn the camera around? Yeah. Okay. So you see that bottle? It just happens to have beer in it. And then it's an old piece of asphalt. So put them together, you can set the phone right on there. It's about the right height. That way I don't have to carry around a little stand with me. Pretty smart chap, eh? I wanted to chit chat with you guys today about the world that continues to turn my stomach. Oh God, what is going on out there? We talked recently about posse comitatus being set aside by the so-called administration. The murderer, the poodle, has ostensibly the right now, actually the SecDef does, to declare an emergency willy-nilly whenever he wants to. And U.S. citizens can thus be targeted by U.S. military and taken out. This is a turn for the worse, and perhaps one of the lowest things, the lowest points ever for the so-called administration. It's just a series of new lows. And I wanted to talk with you about this because these things are linked together. We're looking at a big election here coming up next Tuesday, you understand? And in fact, everything's kind of swinging on it in a way. But there's talk that the deep state, whoever those a-holes might be, are not going to allow Trump to be installed come 20 January of 2025. They'll find a way through a national emergency or something to keep him out of office. Now, this is rumors and propaganda. I have no idea if it's true, but a source citing deep state sources. I mean, what does all that stuff mean? And speaking of that, you remember last spring, I'm sure, the whoever it was, that lunatic back at the Wi-Fi Festival in, where was that, Switzerland or wherever? And, where all the billionaires come flying in on their 747 in order to tell you to quit driving your motorcycle because you're screwing up the atmosphere. Well, anyhow, one of the big points they made was that the one of the big problems we're going to have really in the years to come is misinformation and disinformation. And you want to listen to some bunghole rattle coming out of somebody's mouth. Listen to the I'm going to say the late John Kerry. No, I mean the previous candidate Kerry. Believe it or not, this clown once ran for office. I've always called him Lurch. You have to go watch the Addams Family to find out why. But this guy, Kerry, is saying now that really the only thing that's preventing government from stamping out this misinformation, which is causing such a huge problem, you can't even rule, you can't even govern, is the First Amendment. That's all that's holding it back. And if we could just get rid of that thing, and so they're treating independent creators like me, except the real ones. think of the Russell Brands, think of the Tucker Carlsons of this world. think of the J.P. Sears or somebody, not some old white guy hanging out in southern New Mexico. But the point is that the independent creators, they have this C ship, where you kind of zip it, and if you don't, they'll zip it for you. And so that's supposed to be booting up real big time. A whole bunch of new and strenuous, shall we say, resources devoted to silencing people like you and me. And that sounds like what's coming up on the platter down the way. So I'm guessing I'll probably take a couple of hits for content. It doesn't really matter to me. In my mind, it's a badge of honor. It's really a badge of honor, and everyone should have one. At least one hit on a social media thing which says you have improper content. You almost have to retain your mind. But anyway, we got this thing going on with the Trumpster, where they're talking about they're not going to allow the guy to be sat down. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. So does this become a permanent police state or a military, like a dictator thing? I don't know. I have no idea what's coming up, but it's going to be ugly. And the problem is, going into this as an example, I'm trying to shift gears here a little bit just to make some conversation, okay? But I went into this thing today just certain that the problem is a kitchen sink drain. A laundry tub sink drain, and I already had the parts and everything. I knew what was the problem. It never occurred to me that 2.5 years ago somebody did not put a stub out on top out. Therefore, the drywallers covered it up, and that thing's been uncovered in that wall all that time. And the water never showed till today. So in other words, you go in armed for bear on one thing, and then something else pops up. So if we're going into this season wondering about whether there's going to possibly be martial law or something like that, or some national emergency declared by the authorities, and we know they never lie. If something like that occurs, you might how do you get armed for bear there? How do you get ready for that? And yet we might get blindsided right in the middle of it by something we have not yet even considered, like, say, for instance, food shortages, power outages, internet down, all kinds of stuff. And then just throw in this crazy little mix that at some point, if you keep poking that bear over there, Mr. Poodle, that bear might bite back. And so atomic weapons, when they're set off at least at proper altitude, can often cause what's called an EMP. It's an electromagnetic pulse. And what it does is it's like a huge shock wave that resounds through the area, and anything that's electronic, especially digital, kind of fries its guts. Yeah, you need a new computer. Yes, you need a new phone. Yes, you need a new, the console on your car, all the computer stuff, toast. Now, I think an old car, like say a 1955 or a 65 car that doesn't have computer junk on it, might survive if the engine was off when the thing went off. I mean, I don't know. But new stuff, all this tech stuff, it's done. So if the Ruskies and the what used to be the good guys ends up tossing nukes around, well, there's EMPs, and that means the grid's going down too. So we don't really know what we're headed into, and we don't know how it's going to end, but we do know this. There's good news mixed up in all of this, even though it looks just like bad on bad with bad mixed in. Is that in the meantime, I honestly believe this, and so, well, I'm going to take it for news, is that the Lord God himself, he planned all this. He knows perfectly well what's going on. In fact, he knows better about what's going on than anyone else. And he's preparing us. He's preparing his children to be courageous and to walk right into, as you know, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego walk into the fire voluntarily and fully confident that either God would deliver them, A1, or he wouldn't, and he would take him to themselves after they died. So the Lord is preparing his people. He's getting them ready to suffer, getting them ready to struggle in this dark time, because the apostate movement, which is sweeping through the church now, and the appearance of the man of sin, the son of perdition, those two signs must need be occur. And I think the apostate movement is gaining steam. It's picking up speed here, and one day might be ready to take off, full tilt bozo. And we haven't seen the one they call the Antichrist yet. We don't know his name. And so we're not that far along as to be able to say that Jesus could come at any time. That's why I never say Jesus could come at any time. I just don't say that, because it ain't true. At least two things must happen first. Ask the apostle. He wouldn't lie. He wouldn't lie to you about that. So we're looking at things like very possibly the end of the world, end of the age coming up. Pay attention. And yet, on the ground, right here in Las Cruces, in New Mexico, I don't see any financial collapse. The grid's still running around me. The markets have food. The traffic's running. And by the way, does it seem to you that the traffic is, maybe it's just local, I don't know, but it seems like in the last 3 to 4 weeks, the traffic volume's just gone nuts. It seems like everybody's on the road all the time. Never mind. But anyway, you go in armed for bear, thinking that you know what's going to happen. So take that stuff. Plan. Take it. You'll need it. But be prepared. You could get blindsided at any time. And in that middle, right there, right where you caught cold and you just caught flat-footed and didn't see it coming, there's where the Lord's coming in. The Lord comes in and he provides, he guides, he teaches, he comforts, he reassures and heals. And that's just for starters. He resurrects from the dead, if you'd like to know, by the word of his power. And he's resurrected people like you and me around the world, and he's resurrecting more and more every day. He ain't going to quit until he's got all of his children, every last one of them. He ain't going to lose one. Not one. And so we can be confident in our salvation because it's not built on anything I could do. It's built upon the almighty promise. And so I want you to just kind of think in terms of, look ahead. It looks ugly, but ugly. And we're going into it knowing that in that we have the victory somehow in Christ. And we don't yet know what that appears to be, except on our lips will be the praise, and the answer would be, yes, he's risen. He busted out of that tomb, and he is the King, the Lord God forever, in humankind form. He's one of a kind. He's the only one, the hope of mankind. And so be encouraged and be strengthened, because you're on the winning side. And it doesn't matter, the world won't tell you this, but you are the only thing standing in their way. You and the church, you and the Word, you and the Spirit. So stand tall. You matter. And when you have to say what's true, say it. And when you got to stand up and take it, punishment because of it, take it. Jesus Christ rules, and he walked right into the worst treatment ever afforded, as far as I can tell, to a human. And never once did he threaten his enemies. Never once did he raise his fist. He blessed the Lord, and he entrusted himself to the Lord, and he prayed for his enemies, even while he was dying. Now, if that ain't a man, I don't know what a man is. that dude, he's the best. So come on in and join the chorus of people who see the glory and the honor and the reward and the truth and the power. It's all His. It's all about Him. He's at the center. He's our reward. So you win because He has grasped hold of your heart, and that's forever. Have a good day. Bye-bye.